Hello, Purple Cult! Welcome to another episode of the Purple Sessions. My name is Anastasia Elliot, and I am your hostess. For those of you who don't know me, I'm an independent musician, and I have a great passion for mental health, wellness, and how to live our most creative lives. So I created this podcast where I talk to the fascinating people in my life about their creativity and their experiences with mental health and all of the cool things that they have overcome in their lives. In today's episode, I am talking to a fellow artist and one of my good friends who I'm actually playing a show with in Nashville this week. If you're in Nashville, it's June 15th at the end. It's called Mnerva, and it's going to be so much fun. His name is Matt Wagner, and his artist name is Mnerva. Spelled M-N-E... Spelled... Here you go. Here it is magically on the screen. M-N-E-R-V-A! Matt is one of the most ambitious, multi-talented people that I know. He's an incredible drummer. He comes from a family of musicians. He has a very cool sound that is a mix of rock and rap, and he's a lyricist that really gets to heart. Like, you feel his lyrics deeply because they're all based on real life experiences. He also writes musicals and is really, passionate about musical theater. His first musical he wrote was actually a jukebox musical using 21 Pilots' album Vessel, and he wound up going viral with the trailer and getting a cease and desist letter from 21 Pilots. He's about to drop his next single right when our show ends next Wednesday. But he's also an artist that's really passionate about mental health and how you can heal yourself through art, which is one of my great missions in life. I love the way he describes his evolution as an artist and his project as going through, it's almost like a public journal, and each era of, what he's needed to hear in his life is the music that he's made for his fans, and how that has evolved as he has evolved and as he found therapy and, started taking care of his mental health more. I intended this interview to be actually shorter, and I think it wound up clocking in at one of my longer interviews because he was just so much fun to talk to and had so many fantastic stories. I really wanted you all to be able to listen to Matt Wagner in depth. So get ready for this fun ride. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe and follow along for more episodes. There's a new one every week. Part of my goal with starting the show was to demystify the public figures that we look up to and to kind of expose the struggles and the darkness and how they've used that to catapult themselves and transform themselves into something great. I very much hope that you are enjoying this series and getting to know all these cool people. Thank you so much for being here today. I would love to start with you kind of sharing your background in music and life. Like, who is Matt Wagner?
Yeah, totally. So first off, thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
Yeah. So I am the son of two musicians. So my mom's a singer and my dad's a drummer, and I kind of got both those genes.
What kind of
thankfully.
singer was your mom?
They actually met in a jazz trio, so my mom is like the perfect jazz voice, and meanwhile I'm over here screaming and
Has she ever sung on one of your songs?
Yes, she has actually. The final track on my next record, she actually sang on.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah, which was so cool actually. On that track, I'll talk about it more later, but I got like a whole choir of like all like my friends and family and loved ones on it. So it's like 16 of their voices like all doing like harmonies and like basically like doing a medley of like every song on the record like in a choir. And so yeah,
that's cool.
Getting my mom on that was so
I
cool.
jumped the gun. I was just like, oh, your mom was a singer.
But yeah, so they actually met in a jazz trio. So yeah, it was like, I came around like much later. But growing up, it was very much okay, cool. Like I used to go to my dad's gigs all the time. Like, when he was doing like cover gigs, and I was on pots and pans at like age 3. He put me on a drum set when I was 5. And then after that, I joined my first band in like 8th grade, I want to say, and yeah, I got the music bug hard at that point, because before it was like, oh yeah, I'm doing this, like, spend time with my family, but now it's like, oh no, like, together in a collective, we all can make like a full song and can sound complete. Like that just blew my mind. And so, yeah, around that time, that was when I started songwriting because my guitarist Josh was like, "You're a drummer, you can't have an opinion." And I was like, I took that personally. Yeah. So that's when I learned piano and I started writing. And before I knew it, I started singing lead behind the drums because we didn't have a singer, and it just kind of kept spiraling from there until I moved to Nashville to pursue it full time.
Is it hard to sing and play drums?
You know,
that's always like the most impressive. I mean, I know bass and singing is pretty tough, but drums and singing, I can't even imagine.
So my dad actually, his goal was to make me a singing drummer. Like he bred me from that young age because he actually ended up getting fired from that jazz trio with my mom because he couldn't sing. Because he legitimately, like, she was singing the whole set and she'd like be losing her voice like all the way through, like playing these like 6 nights a week situations. And so he always was like, if my kid ever learns how to play drums, he's gonna learn how to sing. So he put a mic in front of me around like age 7 or 8, and like I was singing like Breakaway by Kelly Clarkson because like awesome. My voice hadn't like dropped yet. And he was just amazed because he's like, wow, he has complete independence of this. And so for most people, yes. The way I look at it, though, is like, if my right hand is doing this and I'm doing this thing called the Moeller technique, like, that keeps my whole body and rhythm and time in motion, if that makes sense. It's a lot harder to play and sing if I have to play broken parts, like, just like, kind of stuff. But as long as I have like something to anchor everything down, it's a lot easier. But my fun party trick actually is rapping and playing drums. Like, in 2019, I did this one series called Mnerva Mondays. And so what that was every Monday I would either write a new rap or learn a new rap of like a popular cover song and then play drums and do it at the same time. So by doing that, that was like how I got good in front of the camera and how I got really good at like, performing in different ways and like, would get at acting with facial expressions and, those things that like you don't really think about as a performer until you have to do them.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and so like at this point, like music videos, I'm like, I'm not playing drums. This is easy. I love it.
True. Yeah. What was your favorite drum rap cover that you did in that series? Oh,
that's an easy one. I did 44 More by Logic, and it was the last song off his record, Bobby Tarantino 2. So Logic goes way back for me. We're actually from the same hometown. Like I grew up in.
There's a book over there.
Supermarket. I love Supermarket. That's a great twist. I can't lie.
All right, it's I'm gonna put it in my queue. It's right there.
It's on your list. Yeah. Let's go. But yeah. So we actually both grew up in the Montgomery County, Maryland area. He was in Gaithersburg. I was in Germantown, and so I've known about him since like 2011 or something like that. And so he was always like one of my favorite rappers and a very, very big influence on like the hip hop side of what I did. But this song, I mean, my God, it's like back to back to back to back again, and back again, snap again, and goddamn it, there ain't no other happening because I've been living in a world on my own. Leave me alone. I'm in my zone where I've been prone to destroy shit. You cannot avoid this. Whack motherfuckers, I've annoyed this. Yeah, I enjoy this. It like that was bad, but doing that while like drumming at the same time.
That's difficult.
I remember just getting a good take of it, and like I'm doing like stick flips and stuff in it too, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm never gonna get this right again. I'm so happy I have this on camera.
So rewarding.
I think it took me like an hour and a half to like get that video right.
That's not that bad. An hour and a half.
Yeah, no. I feel like every time I did one of those videos, or most things in music actually, I heard the late great Taylor Hawkins say this once, and I've never related to something more in music, and I'm sure you can understand. Like you get in the booth or in front of a camera or something, and like you get through the shame spiral. You're like, wow, I'm the worst musician ever. Why am I doing this? What is going on? And it's like you have to convince yourself you suck, and then build yourself back up. So anytime I did one of those videos, it would take me like 45 minutes at minimum, just because it's like, okay, I know I can do this. Why am I not able to do this? I'm like, God, should I even be pursuing this? What am I doing? And so,
existential crisis almost every time you do anything.
yeah, and having that dip and then coming back up, it's like you actually get better than when you started, if that makes sense. It's kind of a self-destructive process, but it's a process.
Absolutely. I think art in general is, I think if you're doing it right and you're getting to like the raw emotion and the meat of art, there has to be some kind of tearing down to bloom something new and beautiful.
Yeah, I love that.
But I just finished reading The War of Art in the book, but he talks a ton about resistance and basically how if you don't feel that resistance and that kind of imposter syndrome towards your art, you're kind of a hack, and how like anyone that's actually doing art from here like is constantly going through these processes of resistance, and you know, every morning is basically you're waking up and you're choosing to enter like a horrible battlefield. And I definitely think that art is like that. I think like a lot of people that aren't in creative fields kind of look at artists and are like, oh, that must be such a great easy life, like you're just making art. But it's not like having kind of a 9-to-5 or something that's very, you know, routine, and you know what you're gonna do and you know what to expect. Like every day is like going to the battlefield and being like given a mop. It's like, for especially for us independent artists, we get like,
I have no money
and a mop to go to war.
So what do you think was your biggest resistance, like point that you had to overcome in the journey for you?
Honestly, right now, I think I'm having my biggest resistance points.
Really? Okay.
And it tends to be with like silly things. Like I'm very resistant towards TikTok. I'm really resistant when it comes to social media. And I think it's because, you know, for me, I'll be like, it doesn't feel creative, or I don't like when like, you know, something's like, you have to do this every day, this many times a day, and like, that doesn't feel creative to me, and then I will fight that. And I think also, like, you know, being truly fully independent and 100% like committed to being independent now, like I have more resistance because, you know, it's all on me. Like if it doesn't succeed, it like there's no one else that I can be like, you know, like the label didn't do a great job here, or this didn't, you know, it's all on me. So I think I feel that resistance sometimes with like wanting to hold on to things or not release them, or like hold too tightly, because once that's out, if I'm not pushing hard, like no one is. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's so fascinating, like working with management. I just started with a manager like earlier this year for the first time, and it's so nice to be like, wow, wait, someone else, I can be asleep and someone else can be working on something.
Burden with you.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I have questions about, you know, you're one of the only like truly independent artists that I'm like, you know, friends with, and like what that's like for you, like the pressure of that, you know, do you like being independent? Do you want to stay independent, and is your goal to eventually like join with a label, or like what is that experience of being an independent artist like for you?
So for me, being an independent artist, I think the most fun part of the job as an artist is the planning stage. Like, and that makes sense for any project. Like, I don't know if you're big into the Enneagram at all. Oh, you are? Cool. 3. 3? Let's go. I'm a 7.
Success or death. I actually work best with 7s. I
really?
write best with 7s.
Oh,
so,
okay.
We were supposed to write last week.
I'm so sorry.
No. I was like, was that my fault or yours?
I think it was us both, if I remember right.
Lately of things. And I'm just like, I feel like an unreliable person right now, which happens, but yeah.
Hey, after our show will be good, which is on June 15th, and y'all should totally come. But so I'm a 7, and so
enthusiast.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, the person who's distracting himself constantly, and so I know for me, imagining new worlds and new like records and new plans and planning out like, you know, release schedules, that's so fun for me. I could do that all day. Like I literally, through every band I've ever had, like Mnerva was not my first music project at all. I had a piano rock band called Remedy like way back in the day. I had a funk rock band named Jenna Soybox a couple years ago, and then Mnerva came after that. And it was in every single scenario, I was always planning out EP track listings and like, you know, record track listings. And I can spend hours just looking at my notes app like, oh, well, this song, key-wise, that feeds into this perfectly, and then it goes into this, and no one cares. No one cares whatsoever.
I'm the same way. Like, everything is so, you know, extra planned and that's the fun part.
Yeah, that's the fun part. And then I know for me, the follow-through then is the much harder part. Like, I can be in the studio all day, every day, and that's the best. Planning like this live show that we got next week has been so fun for me because honestly, I'm really in over my head with a lot of it because like I'm putting a light show together for it, like programming through Ableton. I'm doing a full live band for it. I'm also doing a full hour set, so like, you know, it's transitions between like, you know, covers into originals and how that's all going to work. Bringing up guests, like, you know, I'm getting you on some songs, I'm getting Dawn on some songs, I'm getting some of my other buddies from like other music projects I'm doing.
That's so cool. I can't wait to see what you come up with.
Oh, it's gonna be so fun. I've never been more proud of a set in my life, actually. Like I've been waiting for this one for like I actually had this set planned like 4 months before like we even booked it. No, honestly, I was like, cool. If I ever get a chance to like play an hour of music, this is how I'm gonna do it.
That's awesome.
And so finally getting that chance to do it, and yeah, honestly, I'm like ticket sales are going well at the moment. So I'm like, we're gonna see how this goes.
It's gonna be great.
But so that part I can do absolutely all day. But like I remember. When I was about to release my debut record, Talk Too Much, it was fascinating because I remember having so many breakdowns, like on the phone with my mother, like being like, wow, if these songs don't like blow me up, then I've wasted all this time, I've wasted all this money, I've done all this, and obviously they didn't blow up. But at the same time, like that's not a failure. Like now I can actually say like I have fans for the first time ever. Like, and not just like my 5 friends and family members, like, oh, cool, I can, like, track this person from Germany, I can track this person from Philly, I can track this person from, like, Oregon, and it's, like, that's so cool, because, like, they only know and love me for my music. Or then I'll have people, like, show up at Nashville shows who, like my music, and then we'll just become friends. I'm like, yes, you're my fan, but no, you're my friends.
That's
like,
success.
And that is the coolest thing, so, like, I feel on my last record I could have done so much more still to like make that thing blow up, and I'm trying to use those lessons for this next record, Invincible, that I'm getting ready to release the debut single on. Like Josh is already out, that's on the record, but I'm really seeing like Sorry Forget About Me, like the song that we're promoting at our show, as the true like, I've been sitting on this song for 18 months. This is the one I really believe in. If this doesn't work, totally fine, but then it means a new direction, because this is the best I got in this direction, I really believe. Which is super cool.
So where do you feel like in your process your biggest resistance comes from? Is it the knowing how to push it, how to promote it? Is it like, is yours like showing up for social media? Like where does your resistance come in?
My resistance definitely comes in, as most creatives, like I truly, and this is not a slight to other artists at all, but like I truly see like some people as like they are brilliant marketers who make music, and then there are brilliant artists who make music, and like
I feel
you can have sections
really
of both.
Clearly who is one or the other.
Yeah.
Damn, I'm like, I wish sometimes I was the marketer guy.
Yeah. And I think that you can have both schools, like, whether you lean more one way or more another way. Me and you, I know we lean more that way toward the creative aspect of it. But like, I look at like some of my Nashville peers and how they promote their music, and I'm like, that's the most brilliant thing ever. And I'm still readapting my mind to like being able to think like that. And TikTok is like the first social media I really enjoyed, where I've been like, wow, no, this can be creative and this can be really fun. But I gotta say, like, the amount that I have to do it, like some days I wake up and I'm like, oh my god, I got like a car wreck today, I got a session, I gotta go to work, I got like, because I have my day job, I gotta pay my bills. It's like I don't have time to put real effort into this TikTok. I'm gonna like put 30 seconds into it, like post something and hope for the best. And sometimes that works out. That's actually how I got my first million TikTok. But like, that was 1 out of 200 that I posted. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I think like, especially being an Indian, not having like a team around you that's like doing a ton of that kind of stuff, like, making sure that all your stuff is scheduled, and that even if you're not like on it, like there's still stuff.
Yeah.
I think that is what is so beautiful and so difficult about being independent, because every day is like a roller coaster. I mean, you're having really high highs and really low lows, and it's not really like a natural state, I don't think, for the human brain to be in, because it throws you in fight or flight a lot. And like you have to kind of learn those things that are grounding and balancing for you.
Well, and it's like what you were saying, like, it's human. Like, artists are humans. Like, we are products, but also like we are human beings. And I know like the last week and a half for me, I've been drowning. And I'm like, all right, cool, I'm not on my shit nearly as much as I normally am. And that's why I'm so thankful I have like my manager to be able to pick up a lot of that slack for me. Like, she's been doing a lot with like, trying to get pre-saves for my next single, like, like through Submit Hub or all these other things, like acting as me. And I'm like, cool, through you I'm able to be in 2 places at once now, and that is so invaluable.
That's the biggest value of having a team.
Yeah.
Especially one that understands you, is getting to split yourself into basically, as many people as you can.
Yeah.
Because if you can teach people how to execute things the way you would, then you basically just multiply yourself. yourself.
Yeah, which
but
is
that's
huge.
what's cool about being indie, I think, is you have to learn how to do so many different jobs that then you can kind of oversee a lot and know what's going on and be able to be like, you're actually not doing that good of a job, even if you tell me you are.
Yeah.
And, be able to manage things better.
And yeah, that's the other thing about being an independent artist. Like, as the product, you're also your own manager of the product.
Product CEO. It's like a startup.
Yeah. And yeah, I really see what you're saying about you're kind of like the foreman situation is how I always see it. It's like, all right, cool, I got my video guy making this video for me. He's sending this back. I'm sending my edits. Like, I feel like a lot of my days as an independent artist are not actually doing things. A lot of it is directing people of what else to do. And in the end, it is my vision, and that is my contribution, will continue to be my contribution. But I know, asking about do I want to end up with a label or stay independent, I would absolutely love to get signed at some point, just so that I can, it needs to be the right deal. Like, I'm not looking to jump on the first money that gets sent to me. Like, honestly, I'm very comfortable in my day job. I don't mind the service industry. But it really comes down to, are you going to give me the freedom to do what I need? And are you going to work for me while I'm asleep so that the train keeps moving? Yeah. Is the kind of situation. Like,
agreed.
I find so many artists, they think that like when they sign the paper, that's it, the work's done. No, really, that's when the work begins. Because then you have all these people working for you, but like they're investing now in you so that you give them a good product so they can get their money back. Like, I always love whenever artists are like, oh, my record label like won't let me out of this contract. I'm like, you took all their money and did nothing with it. Of course they're not. Yeah. It's like that's why I think it's so important to get with the right label, because like they need to believe in you as much as you believe in them.
And you need to not just take a lot of money without knowing where, because anything you take, you gotta give back.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I read in an interview that you gave that, I think it was like a great piece of advice that you had heard was like, you can't have basically quick, great, and what's the quote?
Oh, I got you. It comes from my buddy Corey Shore, who was just writing with 5 minutes ago, right before this. So he says it's like quick, great, cheap.
Yes,
pick
quick,
two.
great, cheap. Yes,
pick
two.
two.
Absolutely.
So if you want something,
that you basically, you would rather sacrifice quick for, making sure you have great, quality, and that you would sacrifice your time and money to get there. And I definitely feel that, as someone who has spent almost a decade getting one project ready to be put into the world.
That's crazy.
I would always rather spend the time. And, we both, I think, are people that have big visions that we want to tackle. Like, even you getting this show ready, like, it's your first headlining show, and you're not just going to show up and play music. You're going to have something that's going to have transitions and lights and cool visuals and, guests and all this stuff. And, it's your first headlining show, and that's ambitious and so cool. And I definitely relate to that. Anything I do, I'm trying to put like the maximum amount of ambitiousness in. But it takes so much time and a lot of the time money, or just more of your time. Yeah. So, how do you kind of think about that when you're entering a project or, creating anything? Like,
I find with a lot of my visions, I kind of accidentally fall into them. Like, I remember for Talk Too Much, the record, I decided to do a completely interconnected music video series for it. And I am so glad I did that. That was like the most rewarding thing ever. But trying to plan those videos.
I'm there right now.
Yeah, oh God. It was so much. And like, I think our execution was, each singular video was really good. I think the execution of them being all put together, like, probably like a 7 out of 10. And not because like they weren't good, but more just, I didn't have a plan. I went into each video and then I was like, all right, cool, then we're going to end it like that, and we'll figure it out during the next one. And so I think a lot of my visions I just kind of fall into, and sometimes that kind of falling by the seat of your pants, it creates something really cool, because it's like, wow, you don't know, you kind of write your way into your ending, if that makes sense. Like, I'm working, I do a lot of theater stuff too. I'm writing this one musical right now, and I don't know what the ending is, because the scriptwriter hasn't written it yet, but I'm like, don't you, like, use the ending to, like, guide you? Because that's how I normally do everything in music. Like, I usually write, like, the ending of a song first, and then, like, work my way back. And she's like, no, I'm just gonna kind of see where it ends up, and whether I like it or not. And if I don't,
terrifying. To my 3 self, I'm like, that's just like pushing yourself into the unknown.
Exactly. And she's like, and if I don't like it, I'll write another one. That's what editing's for. And I'm like, wow, that's
interesting.
Crazy.
That person's a psycho.
Yeah, but it's funny because I'm writing just started another show with someone else, and she said the exact same thing. I'm like, what is wrong with you people?
Interesting.
Yeah.
But I see that sometimes too with like the big TV shows that I love.
Yeah.
That they'll be like, yeah, we didn't know where season 4 was gonna go, and I'm like, oh, I guess you don't know how many seasons you're gonna get greenlit for, and you just gotta keep evolving the characters and coming up with more stuff.
And make sure you don't jump the shark as you're doing it.
I'm gonna get to your musical theater stuff, but I wanted to ask you so far what your proudest musical accomplishment is.
Oh God. So actually, mine is really recent. I got a couple, but I went on tour in March for the first time ever, and very, very long story short, I had a drummer for the whole situation, and I had to let him go like literally the day before the show that we were going on the road. And so I decided, all right, I'm going to do this whole tour by myself. I'm going to drive around half the country. We drove 3,100 miles in 10 days. Wow. I'm going to do that and run my own light rig and run my own Ableton session and play my own show, play drums for certain songs. I'm going to play keys for certain songs. I did it all by myself, like as a one-man band. And like it really worked.
That's incredible.
And like I so prefer having a drummer on stage. Like my drummer, shout out Matt Salvo, is the best. And it comes down to just wanting to have that energy, but knowing, wow, okay, cool, I am good enough at my craft.
Achievable.
Yeah, that I can, if I'm in a bind, I can run a show by myself, and it can still be compelling, and people can come up to me afterwards like, oh my God, dude, like, what's your Instagram? I gotta follow you. I'm gonna check out all your music. I love this song. Like, that was so rewarding for me.
That's really huge.
Because it's not like, oh, these are just your friends, like, just trying to, be like, hey, you're great.
I can't say I could run my Ableton rig if shit went south, but I could get on the piano, I mean.
Oh, I definitely, I had one show. It was like, I want to say it was the second to last show. This was so funny. During Sorry, Forget About Me, there's like this part where it like breaks down, and I'm like, I'm so sorry that you loved me, and like, I usually do like a big jump or something, so I did this jump, and I got a lot higher than I normally did, so I hit down the ground, and I hit down so hard that I knocked the hard drive out of my computer.
No.
And so I go, one day you'll... It just run over the singing a cappella, running over the piano. You're better off without me, and like without missing a beat. And I just finished the whole song acoustic.
Oh my God!
And I was over here like,
amazing how quickly your brain can solve problems on stage.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I love it. Like, I mean, it's terrifying. It's never awesome when things are going wrong on stage, but I think it's so cool how when you're so practiced and you have that muscle memory, you can continue singing, not forgetting your words, and be problem solving in your head to be like, that thing's not working. What am I gonna do? How am I gonna fix this? They're not gonna know that something went wrong.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Or if they do, they're not gonna care.
Yeah, because it's still gonna work.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a big one.
that was really fun.
Is that your biggest on stage like catastrophe?
No, God, no. My biggest on stage catastrophe was by far our last show, the one that we played together at the end to open the tour. Actually, I opened the wrong Ableton file because I was so stressed about getting everything together, and so I opened the one that didn't have the light file, and so we start playing the first song in the set, and there's no lights, and I'm like, why are there? But there was like one singular red light. But it wasn't moving, it wasn't doing anything else. And the way I run my shows, it's not like it's one song and you can stop. I was running 3 songs back to back, and so I'm playing this whole series of songs, being like, I have to stay in this red light. I can't move from this red light. I have to make it look like I'm moving, but I have to stay in this red light. And I'm just over here like, what happened? What happens? What did I do? And then we finished it off, and Keel, my guy who's running my lights, was like, dude, you opened the wrong file. I need you to kill some time. I gotta reset everything and open this. And so I just run into this speech. It was my mom's birthday. It was also your birthday. And so I just went into this thing like, well, guys, you know who's here right now? My mother, Matt Wagner, the woman who taught me everything I know about singing. Let's sing happy birthday to her. So I just run this whole like routine for like 3 minutes while they're like getting their lights reset up.
Nobody had any idea.
No, they didn't. They were just like, damn man, you really had like a dark vibe for the scene at first. And I was like, yeah, yeah, totally meant that, man. Just really want to get in that vibe. So that was definitely my biggest onstage fuck up from it wasn't like the whole thing was a train wreck. It was just more of a like, I was in my head just saying, fuck, what do I do? What do I do? And then at that same show, God, that was a rough show for me, I can't lie. At that same show, I changed the key of one of my songs because I was having a bad vocal day, but then I started singing it in the original key. And so and I couldn't find the note. I couldn't figure it out. And so I think I ran the song back like 3 times. I just made jokes about it. The crowd was laughing along with it and everything. But I'm literally over here like on a piano, like trying to note out the melody while singing the wrong melody. And yeah, that was definitely my biggest like, oh my God, I can't believe it.
I think it's those moments though, like we all have like the worst case scenarios in our head, like this is the worst thing that could happen in a show, and we've definitely had things go wrong with our rig, or like we had this one show in LA where the click track came on and it just felt a little louder than it should have, and so my guitarist at the time, he flicked his ear out and was like, oh shit, it's in the house. And so somehow something's routed wrong and it was like feeding to the house, and so he like runs over to our rig and he tripped on a wire and he like was like, no. It was an interesting start to the show, but yeah, we've had a few things happen like with our rig, or we've had some like weird interference, and you know, even though our worst case scenarios, especially worst case scenarios for my drummer who now runs the rig, we've ended shows and been like, wow, like that was bad and we fixed it, and we like, you know, we solved the problem and it wasn't that bad. Like now we don't have to fear that thing anymore because we've been through it and we know how to fix it if it happens. So I don't know, like in, you know, all of, as much as we all hate failure, you do get that boost when you fix it and are like, wasn't so bad.
As long as you learn from it, that's the most important thing. Also, drummers don't get nearly enough credit for how difficult running those rigs are.
My drummer, he holds the fort down.
Oh, I love him.
He holds the fort down for everyone. He keeps us all in time and keeps the rig going, and you know.
I know for so I also play drums for a lot of artists, and I remember right when I was, so first off, like as drummers who grew up in like, you know, the 2000s, like technology was not that stressed to us. We were taught how to play the instrument, not like, you know, run computers. And really, like, when it comes down to it, if you want to be a drummer and really get like road work, you need to know how to run software and how to, like, you know, edit things and have everything run smoothly. And you have to really you can't just do it, you have to understand it. And I remember I played this one show in Kansas for my friend Katie Mack, and who just released a song today. It's great. But I ran this one show for her, and we were in Kansas, and I don't remember what happened exactly, but I do remember what happened. I had a Scarlett 2i2, like, you know, the really small box, and same thing with you with the click running to the house. I didn't have enough inputs in this box to run it to ears. I thought I did, and I didn't. So I now have a Scarlett 4i4, so I can do that. So for this show, I had to run the whole show without a click. And that was like the true test of like how good is my time.
That's serious.
But I remember I hit play on the first Ableton file, like for her song introducing, and it's playing at like a super slowed tempo because I forgot to hit the warp button. But I didn't know that was a thing yet because I was new to Ableton, and so I'm just like, what? And she's looking at me like, dude, what is this? Like, we're all on stage, we're all like ready, and I'm just like, oh my god, how do I fix this? So I just restarted and it worked, thank God. And then I'm playing this whole show without a click, and I'm like, oh my god, I can knock it off. That was a really good show, actually, all things considered. But yeah, I remember just afterwards being like, I'm so sorry, I'm going to fix this. This is exactly how I'm going to fix this. Please don't fire me.
We had one recently, a couple months ago, where all of our ears went out, and like, if mine go out, I'm, you know, the best one for that to happen too, because I can at least hear everybody else and stay on. You know, guitars, that's still pretty rough, but not so bad. Drummer, he lost his click, and there was times where I was like, he never misses that fill, what's going on?
Yikes.
And then I was like, this is lagging a little, and that doesn't happen. I'm like, is everything all right back there? But yeah, click had gone out, but we finished strong. It's those stressful moments that really take the hobbyist and the professional. Like, that's really where the difference will be.
And the thing I love about my musical background too, with being a drummer, is the way I learn drums. Like a lot of people do, like through method books or other things. I mean, I just learned completely by ear by like playing along the songs. So like playing the tracks for me, whether I'm in front of a band as Mnerva or I'm playing drums for somebody else or a little bit of both, it's just like playing in the basement to recordings. They just don't have vocals on them now. So it's like, as long as like I can hear like what the groove is of the bass and like that's high enough, like yes, a click always helps. You want a click.
Yeah.
But like worst case scenario, it's like, okay, cool, I can get through this at least.
Yeah,
I may be swimming a bit, but at least I'm gonna be on.
I learned, I began in classical, and we used to play to, metronomes, but not always. Like classical, the beauty of it is that you can slow down and speed up, and it's like very, malleable.
Romantic.
And I remember when the very first time I had to play to like a click and to a track, I was like, oh, it'll be no problem for me. And the very first time I tried with one of my own songs that I had played in that style, where I was just like, kind of a little looser, I was like, oh my god, I'm never gonna get this. And I like spent all day just playing the song over and over and over. And it came pretty quickly, quicker than I thought it would, but it's very different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, coming from classical, it's now so easy.
Okay, those really are two separate worlds. I mean, especially like the way you say you even have to think about singing, like if someone's like smoking like at a venue. I think that's so interesting.
Yeah, I cannot stand it.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't smoke at venues. It's not nice to singers. Do you listen to a lot of music? Are you a big music consumer or not?
I have an interesting thing with that. So since music is like my job now, I definitely don't listen to it to relax nearly as much as I used to. Like songwriting and music in particular was really like therapy for me before I started therapy. Go to therapy. And so that was always how I like dealt through my emotions, because I'm 7 and I don't have negative thoughts. I push those off. I'm the life of the party, always the strong friend. And so now that I have that a little more together, I find myself getting into bands and listening to things like months after they're popular, and not in like the hipster like, oh, it's just too mainstream. No, it's more because I'm like, wow, this still matters 6 months later. It must have actually been good and worth our time.
What is that? My computer never rings. I'm sorry. I'll edit that out.
You are so fine.
This is an edit moment. We're really in time there.
I'm about to say drummers, let's go. But I know for me, when it comes to listening to music, I always tend to find something like 3 to 6 months or a year after it's popular, because if I'm still hearing about it all this time later, like music, there's new songs that come out every single day, and
60,000 get uploaded a day.
Yeah, and a good 70% of that is pretty mediocre. Not even bad, just mediocre. It's like, cool, you're hitting all the right beats, like, you're doing all the right things, but like, this isn't really moving me a lot. And so when I find that artist where it's like, wow, I can really dive in, and this is a song that I really love, I mean, that's a special thing. And I know, especially doing a lot of the TikTok mashups that I do, I have to be a lot more abreast now to like new music that's coming out, because like there's a timetable. It's like the song is only going to be relevant for 2 weeks, if that, for certain songs. And so I'm just amazed by how consumable music has become. And I really...
its value is definitely diminished.
I really miss when it wasn't like that. We're like, wow, like I know about a record coming out for like 3 months, and then I get like singles like slowly out, and I'd be like anticipating it. And some artists still do that, but it's not in the same way, especially because like, I love when people say like, oh, dude, congratulations for releasing that song. I'm like, I mean, yes, thank you, but like, you can just put this on a distributor for relatively free, right? It's like, putting it on isn't necessarily the accomplishment, it's what you do with it once it's on. And so, I mean, but at the same time, though, like, getting over the shame of putting yourself out there, that is an accomplishment. I will always say that.
Yeah.
But I know for me, do I listen to like a ton of music? Not particularly. Like, if I do, it's more I'm rediscovering records from like 10 years ago or like 5 years ago.
I mean, I'm like 30 years probably.
Yeah.
I mean, the stuff I tend to listen to is old. It's Radiohead or the OG Coldplay or like.
I'm actually going through such a Radiohead phase right now.
I'm in such a Radiohead phase too.
Let's go.
Like, oh my gosh, I actually got a little stony and had a Radiohead night.
Yeah.
And was just like, wow.
Which record?
I think we started with Kid A. And we went through a lot of the discography. Kid A, OK Computer, and I'm really bad with titles and names.
You're so good.
But I just like pushed shuffle and let it go.
Nice, okay.
And man, it was, I don't know, listening to it completely sober, it's fabulous in itself, but listening to it in that state, I was like hearing things that the production, what I love about, their production is it's very minimalist at times, but even in its minimalism, it's very intricate.
Yeah.
And like, there's like not a lot of layers, but every layer is so intentional and it's so just different and thought out, and I love deep diving into their production. And I was fascinated to learn that Tom York actually doesn't read music.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny because you have him and then you have Johnny Greenwood, the guitarist, who's like the exact opposite. He's like composing classical pieces.
They're like
and
perfect.
The marriage is so cool. Mm-hmm. And I mean, every member of that band really contributes a lot when it comes to that. Like, and listening to him recently, like I just did the Bends yesterday for the first time in like 5 years probably. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, like even before they were this super experimental electronic band, like there's so much more going on here than like I remembered there being.
Yeah.
And like, there's composing like really interesting string parts, for example, and like I'm reading up on like the Wikipedia page and like string players would like laugh at them for like their arrangements because they're not possible. Mm-hmm. But like the producers would be like, hey, like work with them. Like, there's something here. It's just not what's on the page.
Yeah. Nala's contributing. Mm-hmm. She has a question for you.
I see.
Nala, go upstairs! I don't really listen to music much. If I do, it's usually because Derek's listening to something or he sends me something. That's kind of the only way that I discover music now. But I do go through phases where I'm more like I found this song or this record that I really love and I'm just going to repeat it until it's like,
Same.
But I'm not really a discovery person, and I think not a lot of new music really like...
Really touches you?
Yeah, it's just, part of that may just be that I'm not out there discovering the stuff that I really love, but I don't know. It's just honestly, listening to music isn't even something that I think about a lot as even an activity. Like, I reach for podcasts or for, other things, because, I have music in my head all the time. Like, it's not something relaxing necessarily. It kind of makes me think of, like, if I'm hearing something, I'm, then being like, okay, well, this strategy. Like, it kind of, like, gets my work brain going to listen to music.
Yeah, and I know when I listen now, I'm analyzing, like, always. And
like, they didn't change that drum loop from Logic.
Yeah.
I know that drum loop. That was lazy production. Or that's too much auto-tune. Or, like, it's hard to not listen like that.
Or even just simply going, 1, 6 minor, 5. Like, because for me, it's like...
See, that's good on you. I took a big step back from theory and, like, all of that stuff, and... I'm actually trying to like brush up on that stuff again, but I find that like my best writing comes from a place where I like remember it, but I'm not so in its rules.
Yeah.
Because I tend to write chord progressions and stuff that like people that are really in the theory are like, that's not right, and I'm like, yeah, but that's what I hear. That's what sounds cool. Like, let's go there. But if I was maybe too analytical, I wouldn't choose that.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite collaborators are people that, will get on the keys but have no clue what they're doing, and I'll be like, oh, that's really interesting. That choice there, I would have never chosen that.
I've actually been revisiting, I'm writing like my next record right now, and I've been revisiting a lot of songs from like my first band, Remedy, that like, okay, I was like 16 when I wrote a lot of them. They're not good. But at the same time, like, there are nuggets and elements that are like, oh, that's cool. There's something there. And I know there's this one song I wrote, and it's called like Out of My League, and I'm pretty sure the verse is in B flat, the chorus is in C, the bridge is in 7, and I'm over here like, I was a drummer. I didn't know how to, other than the time signatures, I didn't know how to do any of that. I was just doing it completely on feel, and that there's something beautiful about that when you don't know what you're doing. Like when I wrote my first musical script way back in the day, that was awesome, and I wrote it really fast actually because I I didn't know what the rules were.
Yeah.
And it was bad. Oh, so bad. But like, I really didn't know what was good or what was not, and I was able to just kind of paint on the canvas and then look outside and be like, cool, that needs to be changed a lot, but at least there's something to work with now.
How do you know when something's good? Like, what is for you is like that moment of being like, yeah, I've got something really special here. Like, is it a feeling or is it, feedback you get? Like,
Usually not feedback. It usually comes from me. I have a formula for every single song I write. It's not like it has to be like this chord progression or this lyric. But the way I look at songwriting is this: you have 4 lines per lyric, and every song in popular music is built off this formula. You have your first line, which sets the scene. You have your second line, which expounds upon the idea. You have a third line, which is your free line, but it's usually your setup line for your punchline. If I don't feel something every 4 lines in a song, I'm usually like, this isn't done. It doesn't mean that like I need to like be crying every 4 lines or like angry every 4 lines, but just somewhere it's like, ooh. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
that's so interesting. I've never heard anyone break down songwriting like that.
I'm such a math mind. Like,
I was gonna ask you, like, what is your songwriting process? Like,
yeah.
Do you have like your phone full of voice notes of ideas, or your notes, or are you the someone that sits down and I'm creating now?
I'm much more like that for sure. I definitely go through phases of 6 months of like nothing, and then like 2 or 3 weeks of just like, oh my god, there's so much right here, kind of situations. And
do I try to learn?
Depends on what I'm doing. If I'm writing for Mnerva, I'd say about like 30% of my songs I write completely alone, no one touches them. About like 50% of my songs I write majority alone, and then I bring them in with like Corey or another collaborator that I like really trust to like finish them. And then the last 20% would be like co-writes. But I definitely love having someone I trust to like push me, so that like my first idea isn't always what I go with. Because if I'm writing by myself, usually like whatever I think of first is it's going to be. And I'm the king of the rewrite as far as my songwriting process goes. Like my song "The Interview," for example, I wrote that first draft in March of 2016. Like, we're talking like 6 years ago. Oh my god, that was 6 years ago. We're talking 6 years ago now, and it's when that song first started, it had no chorus. The only thing that was the same was the piano line. Every single lyric was different, other than "I hope it gets better than this." And that big bridge with "it'll get better than this," like that was the only thing that retained from that song.
Wow.
And I think it went through 7 drafts of like completely new lyric and new choruses and new melodies before I finally got there.
I saw an interview the other day with Jenny Anders, who she wrote "Butter" for BTS.
Yeah.
And she was talking about how they did like 60 rewrites of that song. And I mean, yeah, rewrites are great.
Now look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know one of the guys who wrote that worked at Topgolf. Actually, like here in Nashville.
Nice.
But so for me with my process, like a big part of it is just like sitting down and either at a piano or going on a walk. Like I write most of my songs a cappella.
Really?
Like especially if I'm doing raps.
Do you hear the beat in your head? Like, do you feel like you get the track in your head, or are you just...
Being a drummer, I literally hit a click track, just that, and then I'm like, cool, let's throw rhythms out and see what happens. And then like once I feel like the rap is at a good spot, usually for Mnerva songs, if they're more hip hop driven, I'll then send literally to a click track, just me rapping a cappella to my producer, and then we'll build from there.
So cool. So when you're writing that, like, are you someone that can visualize a finished track, finished product? Like, do you know what it's going to sound like at the end, or do you kind of leave that to the collaboration of your producer?
Depends on the song, for sure. Like, I definitely, my main producer, his name's Andrew Gomez, and oh my god, he's brilliant. I mean, I remember doing my first session with him, which was a Quarter Life Crisis, and I did that exact same thing. I just came in with that whole rap a cappella, and we just started building the track around it. And on that one, I had no idea what I wanted to sound like. I just knew I wanted to drop. And I was like, cool, it can be like anything. Here's Grandson as my reference mix, and then I'm a huge Linkin Park guy. I love these types of sounds, like metal poles and like, these types of synths, and he just kind of ran with that. And giving him that box to work in, and then trusting him to make a good product, that was really cool. But then like the last song I just did with him yesterday, I came in like, full piano part and like guitar parts already written. Like, I don't play guitar, but like, I had it like, with MIDI and everything like drawn out, and I knew that one I knew exactly what I wanted. And then he just kind of filled in the gaps. And I mean, he brought the vision from here to like here. Mm-hmm. Or like my song Talk Too Much, I actually produced that song myself. And then I brought it to Andrew to take it like the last 25%. And obviously he made it so much better.
I enjoy doing that.
Yeah, but see, for me, it's like that's so not what I do. Like I can produce, but like I just knew for that song in particular, no one was going to get the vision, so I had to make a vision.
You had to do the sketch.
Yeah, and it was so much more than the sketch. I covered in a lot of lines on that one. But I knew, okay, a rap song in 5/4, everyone's going to be like, you're fucking crazy, what are you doing? And that was... So yeah, those are all the different types of my processes. And then the last one is if I'm writing for musical theater, I write everything myself. I'm sitting down on a piano and 4 hours later I'll come out with a finished song and usually be hitting my head against the piano the whole time.
Mm-hmm. So were you in musical theater growing up?
I accidentally was. Yes, I did not mean to do that. I joined theater for a girl when I was 15, as most men do. And then I auditioned for West Side Story. I got in, and then she broke up with me like 2 days later. But I just felt a level of acceptance I'd never felt before when I got in that program. And, I mean, it was dramatic as shit. All of them are. I mean, we were basically Degrassi, but in real life. But I just felt like, wow, I can be my normal weird self, and I'm actually cool for it. That's really nice. I'm not cool whatsoever. I've always been like this outcast loner geek. I mean, I've literally built my whole brand around that. And theater really gave me a place of acceptance, and it's such a cliche, but there's a reason. It's because like that, those programs usually build a lot of that. But when I got finished with high school, I was like, great, I'm never doing this again. I'm so happy to leave that chapter behind me. It's time to do music. This is what I've always been meant to do. And then I missed it a lot. I was shocked. And so that was why I started writing a musical a couple months later after that. And that was, that just gave me such a new freedom. Because if you're writing Blurry Face the musical, which was the 21 Pilots jukebox musical that I got a cease and desist letter for, and then went viral on TikTok
for. To ask you for your story of your cease and desist letter from 21 Pilots.
What a time! But that was why it was so interesting writing that, because I wasn't writing about myself, but I was writing about myself.
When you set out to start that musical, did you know it was 21 Pilots, or
yes.
did you have a song and it'd be like, oh, this would be a really cool idea to do this musical?
Yeah, so I discovered the band in 2015, and I heard Vessel first. I loved it. I don't know if you're a big fan or not, but
I don't know songs by name, but there's definitely been plenty I've enjoyed from them.
Amazing. So I listened to their first major label record, Vessel, and I loved it. I was like, oh my god, this band is everything I love. It's piano, rock, and rap all together. That's like literally what I wanted my first band Remedy to be. And then I discovered that I'm like doing everything that I was already writing. I didn't know y'all existed. And
were you disappointed? Did you feel
no,
like
I was
someone stole your vision?
I was so excited. I was like, this can work.
This can work's proof of concept.
Yeah.
That's a great enthusiast 7 way of looking at it.
It really is. But it was so exciting to me. And I remember then I listened to their next album, Blurry Face, and whenever I listen to any record or watch a TV show, I always have a Wikipedia page of it up at the same time. And I saw the concept, and I really loved what they were talking about, and how Blurry Face represents like everything we don't like about ourselves, and how this record just discusses the lead singer Tyler's struggles with that. And so when I got to the last song, Goner, it's a really heavy song. It's like, it's subdued, and then it just explodes. And I remember just crying the first time I heard it. I was like, this is beautiful. But I don't know why. I just kind of saw a stage show in my head when I saw it. I just saw like this man like holding the gun up to like his spirit and shooting him, and then lights going crazy, and it was just really powerful to me. I really loved the idea, and I was like, oh my god, these songs are so theatrical. Not in a traditional sense, but there's so much drama in this. I would love to see someone make a musical out of this. I'm gonna do that. And I was like, this is better than all my other ideas. I'm gonna follow this. And yeah, I mean, I'd never written a show before. I'd never really done anything, and I just set off to do it.
Did you start with a script? Did you start with like the story of how it would all kind of go to? Like, what's the process of writing a musical versus a song or an album? Like those are so different?
So I'm going to explain that in two parts. So there's writing a jukebox musical and writing an original musical. I've now done both.
So you're using the songs.
Yes. So jukebox musical would be using someone else's catalog and writing a story around that. So what I did was I knew how I wanted Goner to go because that was the original vision. Because again, I know my endings, and then I work my way back. And I started at the beginning of the show with Heavy Dirty Soul, and the whole chorus of that one is "Can You Save My Heavy Dirty Soul?" So I was like, okay, clearly this main character, I'm looking at these lyrics, I'm like, there's an infestation in my mind's imagination. I'm like, okay, cool, that's Blurry Face. That makes sense. And he's asking someone for help. Who's he asking for help? Is it a priest? Is it a friend? It's a therapist. Okay, cool. So first scene is like in a therapist's office. You know what I mean? And like he's telling her like that he's haunted by this thing. You know what I mean? Okay, cool. Next song, Stressed Out. He's talking all about work and like his childhood and all stuff. I'm like, okay, cool. He clearly has some trauma associated with like his childhood. He keeps bringing up his brother all the time. Why is he doing that? His brother's dead. Cool. Okay, how does brother die? And then so like through analyzing these lyrics, it bred all these questions. And before I knew it, I got to the next song, Ride, and I'm like, okay, this lyric makes no sense. Like straight up, it made no sense. I was like, this is ridiculous, honestly. And then I started thinking really outside the box. That I'm like, maybe this is Blurry Face's song. Okay, he's saying he's taking his time on his ride. He wants to kill Dylan, the main character. He wants to kill him, and so he wants to. But he doesn't. That's his goal, but he doesn't want to do it because he knows he's going to perish at the same time when he does it. So he's enjoying himself. He's taking his time. Okay, cool. That means he's going to be the comic relief of this show because he's got this like super campy like vibe. Maybe he knows he's in a musical. I love Deadpool. Let's put that in there. So like through analyzing these lyrics, the story just kind of fell into place. And honestly, like I made the outline of the whole first act in like 2 months of just going on like a walk every day after my classes at college. And then I got stuck around halfway through the second act because the song stopped making sense for the story I was writing. And so I had to get really out of the box to make those work. But with that show, I was so proud because everyone who saw it, no matter what they thought of the show, whether they liked it or disliked it, were like, you weaved these songs in really well. These feel really natural. Like you wrote these songs for the show.
That's such a cool challenge.
Oh, it was so fun. And I've tried doing it again as, I'm not doing that ever again from a actual trying to make it a thing, but just as a challenge. I've tried doing it again. And it has not been easy the second time around.
So, do you actually got to perform the musical?
Yes. So I did a workshop in Nashville at Studio 10 over here in Franklin, actually, in 2018, which was amazing. I got a director for the whole thing, and we didn't have a set. It was just a stage reading. But I literally flew in a friend of mine from DC to play the lead because I couldn't find someone to do it other than me, and I didn't want to do it because I wanted to like be able to like look at it from the outside. And it's definitely hard to find someone who can sing, rap, and act. Yeah. That is very difficult, especially sing as high as Tyler Joseph does. He's got a very high tenor. And so we did that, had a full house for that, which was really cool. And we kind of just opened it for Q&A afterwards and like, what do you think of the show? And I got some really good critiques from just my peers and people who really loved me and either knew a lot about theater or knew nothing about theater. And I took all those critiques and I then moved to New York City and I then put on a completely independent production of the show over in Brooklyn. And that's so cool. That was honestly my most rewarding creative moment. That was not my most rewarding musical moment, but as far as like actually doing things as a creative, that was by far the best 4 months of my life. I just graduated college. I was working as an RA at NYU and I weaseled my way into that job. And yeah, I mean, I was living up in New York City for free. I only had to work the night shift. And so every day would just be wake up and put another brick on the wall that is making this musical come to life. And so I put a whole backstage call together. I was paying people, like, to...
That's amazing.
I wasn't paying much, but it was like... It's amazing as soon as you put paid work up on backstage, how many people apply. I think I had 200 people audition for that show. Like, only like... I whittled it down to like 30 and then I think 15 showed up. But at the same time, it was like, damn, like... This is a really talented group of people. Yeah. And trying to cast that was so hard. Oh my God. Like, I had 2 roles I knew I was going to cast, and I had to run some vetoes over my director, actually, because I was like, no, it has to be these 2. And I actually made a couple concessions because of that. But I mean, I think we really got the best cast we could have gotten. And I mean, the group chat is still alive to this day of me and all the cast
Do you
members.
have it on film?
Yes, we do. No one will ever see it because I'm legally not allowed to show it.
So how'd they find out about it?
So I put it on in New York, and I mean, it was really successful. Like, honestly, it had a lot of hiccups just because we only had 3 weeks to put up. But, like, especially from an acting perspective, it really worked. And that was so cool. So I filmed it. I then put a trailer together for it. I posted it on the internet. And from there, it blew up very quickly in the 21 Pilots community. And half of them were like, oh my God, he's brilliant. This is a crazy good idea. And then half of them were like, please kill yourself. You're trying to monetize a man's mental health issues. This is really disrespectful. And it really taught me an important lesson about, like, I don't believe I was in the wrong in creating the concept, but it was kind of arrogant of me to, like, think that they were going to embrace me as this nobody when these fans are so protective of this favorite band that they have. And so that was a really cool lesson about, like, no, you can't just build, like, leech off of other people. You have to build it all yourself. And I wasn't intending to do that, but it was like, oh, cool. Like, no, I can't just leech off 21 Pilots' fan base. I have to, like, make them fall in love with me as Matt Wagner or Mnerva or, like, for my art.
It doesn't sound like your intention going into it was to leech their fan base. It sounds like you just had an idea and you were inspired by an artist and their work, and you wanted to kind of add something to it and make your own spin of it. And if that benefited the rest of your work, that's just a great bonus.
Yeah, and that's much more how I looked at it. And a lot of people, I mean, to this day, whenever I post about it on TikTok, they're still like, how nefarious or how evil I was. I'm like, guys, the way this works with grand rights, they would have gotten 2/3 of my profits.
Yeah.
Like, this was not a, like, get-rich-quick scheme at all. It was very much a passion project. And so now, talking about so the process of doing the musical, what happened was I released the trailer of all this. It gets really big. I then use that publicity to then text their manager, email their manager, and because his email's on Facebook, like crazy. And I was like, you email like the biggest, you represent like the biggest alternative band like in the world, right? Okay. So I emailed him and just with my pitch of like, hey, here's what I think could work with all this. Here's how I think that we could spread 21 Pilots' message to a new audience. And unfortunately, that's when I got hit with the cease and desist letter. But I know the drummer liked it. Like, he literally liked the trailer on Instagram. And I have a mutual friend with him who actually sent it to him. And he told my friend, he's like, no, this is amazing. Like, this is really cool.
Could have been the label. You never know.
I mean, honestly, I don't know the lead singer personally. And hopefully one day we'll get to meet him. But I know he's very protective of his art. And, like, that... with how much controversy was being stirred up in the community, I would have shut me down too. I can't lie. So honestly, when I got the cease and desist letter, I kind of cheered. Because I was like, oh my God, all the cyberbullying I'm receiving is finally going to end.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
Yeah,
and that happened in February of 2020. So what happened in March? COVID. The world ended. So I then took that time to really look at like this story I had written. And to this day, I love Blurry Face the musical, and there are a lot of beats in that story that I still enjoy, and that I still really think are really powerful, and I decided, all right, I just crashed my car, I just got evicted, I just lost my job. That all happened on March 15th. It was like the worst day of my life. Yeah, it was terrible. But I was like, okay, cool, I have the time now, I'm living back at home, I can't go outside, I'm going to write my own musical. And so I did, and
So is this the second one?
Yeah, it's called. So this one's called What's Written. I'm still working on it. But I wrote the whole first act in like 4 months.
I got to hear a song at your writers' room.
Yeah, yes.
Fantastic.
Which was so fun, and to this day I still think it's the best music I've ever written that's in the show, and it's like I think it's as good if not better than all my Mnerva stuff, and it's because through writing Blurry Face I found out what I wanted to say as an artist, because. At first, it was just writing from the lyrics of these songs, and then it became like, no, like I've been having all these mental health issues. I've been trying to find myself through a woman when in reality I need to find myself through me, and I've been trying to distract myself from my problems, like the good 7 that I am. And so
you do come across to the world as a very optimistic human.
Yeah, and I mean, that's not put on. I mean, I definitely am. And I mean, especially since therapy, my God, that's changed my life in every way. But my whole next Mnerva record's about that. But it was really cool to be able to then take the skeletons of those characters that I created from Blurry Face and turn them into something completely different. And What's Written, I mean, it's a completely different show than Blurry Face the musical. And it's been so cool to keep writing about those same themes of grief and survivor's guilt, but from a new perspective. And I found it really easy actually to do because like I already knew what I wanted to say. I just had to say it differently.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and it wasn't like I was replacing the 21 Pilots songs and making it like a one-to-one comparison. Like the show has a completely different ending now. Like it's so interesting, like watching it evolve. Like, again, my script writer, I didn't want to write the script for the show. I wanted to bring in someone new. And she was like, cool, I want to change this. I want to change this. I want to do this, like, you know, with your vision that you had. And it's so much better than, like, you know, what I had in mind for the show. And it's been so cool trusting her and having the uncertainty of where is this thing going to go.
How close is it to being done?
I have the first half of the second act done musically. Script-wise, we still have to write the whole second act, but the first act is done. And for draft 1, I mean. And I don't know where it's ending. I know I need to write about 3 more songs. And I know how I want it to end. I'm not sure if it's going to end that way, though. And I have a song ready in case it does end that way. But I actually had to cut my favorite song in the show because she wants to take the ending in a different direction. And it actually works out really well because I just got out of a relationship. I started writing the show when I was just getting into a relationship, and like I got to live through like, oh my God, like this girl's everything I've ever wanted, and this is life changing, and I'm finally like becoming an adult through her. And now, since we broke up, my scriptwriter wants the 2 characters to break up and not get together, and so now I have to write those songs. And it's like, wow, it's like I wrote this into existence. And so
I love when art mimics life.
Yeah, and it's so, and the best art does.
I think it does. I mean, my whole project started with my writing of Crash Landing, and then I was in the plane crash, like on my way to finish it. And like, I feel like for me, I tend to even like analyzing like work I made years ago that's, you know, coming out now, and now that I've been through a lot of therapy and a lot of healing and can more get a grip on what I was maybe writing about, because for a long time I would, you know, sit down to write and I would just like have visuals or stories I wanted to talk about, but wasn't always sure how they fit in with my life. But now looking back on them, I'm like, wow, that's what I was writing about, or like that wound up happening, or like, you know, sometimes feeling like I was tapped into something like years before it actually happened, but like, you know, back analyzing work I think is so fascinating. You want to know something that's crazy? I just started a new relationship, and her name is Katie, and she is amazing. I've been so happy with the start of our new relationship, and the female lead in What's Written's name is Katie. Shut up! And Katie has an older brother named Dylan, and the main character in What's Written's name is still Dylan. And I literally, when she told me that, I was like, no fucking way. That's so cool. And yeah, I was just like, that's... I love that universe stuff. Yeah. It's just like a little encouragement from the universe. It was just insane. I mean, obviously that's a total coincidence, but it was just like... And those are common popular names, but it's like, wow, like, I'm not changing that. No, that's so really cool. Well, I know mental health is important to you, and, you know, you've mentioned therapy many times since being here and how that changed your life, and I know your last song, Josh, came from a, you know, really difficult time in your life. Like, have you been through a lot of mental health struggles, and like, what role does mental health, you know, helping your mental health play in your life now? So I was definitely bullied a lot as a child. Like, I don't mean to be arrogant when I say this, I was a little too smart for my own good. Like, and I had no social skills. Like, it was very much like I just make a really out there observation, and this is so funny to hear me say this now, because now, like, I put so much work into my social skills. Like, I can talk to a room of anybody for hours, and like, but like, that was not how I grew up, like, at all. And so, I mean, yeah, people would just kind of take that for granted and like laugh at that. And I was a very sensitive kid. I mean, I still am very sensitive
as much as I don't want to be. And therapy has helped me reclaim that, actually, because I got really cold there for a while. Because I felt like I had to.
Ones can turn it off.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so through that bullying, like I kind of got in my head eventually that my identity was I can take it. And like, I mean, I remember having kids be like, you know, hey, I can stop, and I say no, and because like it's like no, if you stop, then I'm going through this for nothing. But if I can kill you with kindness and like overcome this, then it's like then I win. And I'm very competitive. And so that, I know through therapy really helped me come to terms with that. But like, had all those early experiences not happened to me, where I developed that feeling of inadequacy and feeling of loss of self-worth and that I'm not attractive. I mean, my God, I didn't look in the mirror and not hate myself until like a year ago. And like, my last relationship really helped with that one. I will always thank her for that. I'm very thankful we're still really good friends. Especially because she knows I'm writing a whole new record about her, and I can send her the good and the bad songs, and she will laugh at them either way. But it's really good for me through therapy and everything else, because I was able to. Had I not gone through those experiences where I needed an outlet, I don't think I'd be in music. I'd probably be an accountant. I love numbers.
I was going to ask you if you could pick one other job, if you weren't doing music, what you would be doing.
Yeah, I know.
An accountant was not what I was expecting.
I know the joke is always like, oh God, I'd rather die than be an accountant like for music. But like, I love money. I love numbers. I think taxes are fascinating. Like the amount of money I make off my tax returns because of writing things off for music is obscene. And I think it's so interesting. It's like, it's not. It's working within. It's creativity through math. It's working within the law, which is your confines of your creativity, your box, and trying to make the best out of that. I think that's so cool. And the reason writing a jukebox musical and bringing it to creativity was so fun for me is because I had that box. I'm trying to write like a new original musical now, a couple of them actually, and it's so hard because I don't have a box. I have anything can happen. And I have like my concepts. They're called I Peaked in High School and Swingers. And I love the ideas. I love them so much. But they can go in any which way. So I need to figure out what my ending is so I can have a journey there. But yeah, so with mental health as far as my music, I wouldn't be writing music if I had good mental health practices for a long time.
I don't know that any of us would be. I think you know, a lot of artists and creatives really struggle with mental health, and I think it's because to be a good artist, you really have to be in your feels. Like, you can't detach. Like, you can, but there's going to be a point where you can't anymore if you want to keep growing as an artist.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, not being able to detach and having to basically not only just be aware of your feels, but, like, really push into them and, you know, go do that shadow work. And, you know, especially for us people that love to create darker art that's really, like, you know, fleshed out. You really got to go there, and you spend a lot of time, you know, maybe not in the best places, and really being aware of all your shit.
Yeah, but you know how to get there, which is fascinating, because like,
you gotta just know how to get back.
yeah.
What are some things that I guess you found aside from therapy that you incorporate into your daily life, if any, that kind of keep you balanced, grounded, and, you know, keep your mental health well? Are you a meditator?
I am a walker.
Walker.
Yes. No, I start my day by calling my parents and walking. Like, I'll walk, like, either a mile or, like, you know, to the bank and back, like, deposit the money I made, like, at whatever gig I just played. And that is so grounding for me, just to be able to be like, okay, cool, like, look outside. Like, even when it's miserable outside, like, there's so much here. Like, you know, like, the world is beautiful. Like, even when I'm in a dark place, like, there's something to look forward to.
Are you walking in silence? Like, no music, no phone? Like, do you try to really make it a time with yourself? I
usually am calling either my parents or friends. Because, like, I'm really good at maintaining relationships. But only with, like, a select few. Like,
your top tier.
Yeah, exactly.
You can have your tiers.
No, yeah, like, the bottom tier, I'm jack shit at texting back people. But and even with the top tier, I'm jack shit at texting back. But calling, so good at. And that's because I really want to make that time, because they really keep me focused and make life worth living. Like, I have a really hard time letting people go, which is very
I hold on way longer than I should.
Yeah, which has been very evident in my music. And actually the reason I started therapy is because I let go friendship drive me to the point of insane rage all the time. And it was really not cute. And I just look at it like, if you let yourself isolate yourself, you're always going to be miserable. I mean, I think that's why COVID drove everyone insane. And like, thank God for Zoom, thank God for like, you know, FaceTime and all the other ways that we were able to connect during that time. But like, I know for me, especially my non-music friends, they're so invaluable. I love being able to just talk about their girlfriends or their jobs or like, you know, their struggles, like, you know, like with their parents or anything else. It's like, wow, there is a real life out there, and I'm still a part of that. Because I feel like as a musician, you kind of live like a double life, if that makes sense. Like you have Anastasia Elliot, and then you have Anastasia Elliot, and you have Mnerva, and then you have Matt Wagner.
It can be very isolating if you don't, know how to pull yourself out of that, I think.
Yeah, and I know.
You are, half living a character.
Yeah.
Holy crap! Who are these people?
I don't know!
Okay. Yeah, it can be very isolating, I think. I definitely tend to recluse. Like, I go through periods where I'm, like, amazing at keeping at friendships, and then some where I'm, like, I only have the capacity right now for, like, my relationship and, like, 2 friends.
Yeah.
Like, and it's never anything malicious. Like, it's never, like, oh, I don't care about this person anymore. But, as a creative, I can get so overwhelmed with all the things in my life that, like, I just don't have the capacity to maintain that many relationships. And then I suck at it sometimes, or I'll be like, oh my god, I didn't text this person back for like a month and I didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
How shitty of me. Or like, even this past week I've been dealing with a lot of stuff, and I've only posted on social media once, and I know my algorithm's gonna hate me for it, but like, I had to recluse. Like, I didn't feel like connecting to the world like that, which is bad for marketing. But as the creative, like, I know my brain needs that sometimes, like the time to recluse.
Yeah, no, definitely the math of algorithms sucks.
That's when your social strategy and plan is there for you for when you can't be there for yourself. And I'm like, cool, I'll let you guys know when I have that down.
Exactly. And going back to your mental health question too, I mean, I think for me honestly, I'm healthier now than I've been in a very long time. And it's really interesting. Like, my next record, it has like the first like true happy song I've ever really written. Wow. Which is, I know, wild. And it's called Love Song, and I'm so excited to put that one out whenever it comes out, because it's top 3 favorite songs I've ever written by far. And I know for me, it's like, damn, like there's hope in this record. Like, my last record, the interview gave it hope, but like, that was a dark record. I mean, I'm talking about like quarter life crisising, and my relationship, like my strained relationship with my parents for a sec there. We're great now, but like, I mean, just living in people's shadows, like failed relationships. I was talking about, like, the fact that I'm never going to find love because I can't shut up. And I mean, really, that It'll Get Better Than This was the only moment of hope. And this one, like, I mean, it literally starts with like, I've been a depressed, stressed mess ever since 18, but right now I feel like I can do anything. And like, that is exactly how I feel in this moment. Like, I've never felt more calm.
I'm gonna high five you for that.
Oof, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I've never felt more calm. I've never felt more like in control.
You've done the inner work, though. I mean, like you said, you've been going to therapy, and you're seemingly bringing all that awareness to yourself, which props to you.
Thank you. And I know for me now, when I'm talking about like really dark, negative mental health stuff, it's more like Josh, where it's like I'm talking about my experience with someone else's experience, instead of like me going through like the demons in the darkness as much. Because I'm thinking about this album's a lot of apologizing on my end. Like, both Amends and Sorry are me apologizing to the same girl, actually, from high school in different ways. I made amends with my high school girlfriend after not talking to her for like 5 years. Wow. And that was a very interesting experience, because like, in my head, she's always going to be 17 and unstable. And again, we're friends now, but like, I just assumed in her head I was always going to be a jackass and cold. And no, we're both not those people anymore at all. Like, we're both adults. And that was really inspiring and interesting.
Yeah.
And then this next record I'm writing after that, because I love being ahead of the game. It's going to be called From Beginning to End, and it's going to be just about my last relationship and how it goes from like the super high of like, oh my god, I found the one and the woman of my dreams, to, oh my god, we're better off as friends, and how that journey goes. And I know it's going to like have an intermission where we break up, and it's going to have like an overture and a finale track. I'm super excited about it. It's very early in the process, but it's fascinating because I'm not writing about my mental health nearly as much anymore, because it's not as inspiring to me. Like, I don't feel like I need to go to those dark places. I feel like I don't have as much to say on that anymore, and that's great.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I have that catalog of Talk Too Much and a lot of my hip hop stuff, because that hits that mark for me, for my fans who need help with that.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows, maybe I'm going to dive spin, and before I know it, I'm going to be writing Stuck Part 2. But like,
probably.
For right now, I'm so glad I get to be in a new subject area to be able to help people in different areas of life.
That's really cool. So your discography is almost like a bit of a journal.
Yeah. It always has been, and it hopefully always will be, and I hope I always have something to say.
Yeah.
I mean, I really feel like I'm so excited to write this breakup record. Like, I've written like half of it, and I'm like, damn it, these are good songs. All right, and there's happy songs. So the first half of the record is happy, and it goes.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah, it's like this is.
When you surprise yourself, it sounds like you've surprised yourself.
Yeah, it's like, God, I'm excited to do something different. I'm not just talking about how jaded I am. This is great. Like, because I don't know, for me, I think it got kind of old after a while, because like all my songs for like 5 years was that, because I needed it. But it was like, damn, I'm saying the same lyric a million times over, just in different ways.
It's kind of like, I guess, when people are like, man, I've been complaining about the same thing for 5 years and nothing's changed. Like, I should shift something.
Yeah, it's like, I was the problem. I need to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that I've been in the process of doing it, and I'm still in the process of doing it. I mean,
You never won't be.
Yeah, I look forward to my 3-week therapy camps.
Yeah.
I only need 3 weeks in between now, not 2. Saves me money. Yeah. But that's been really fun, and that's why I'm really excited about diving into another musical too, because I can.
It's a whole different side of yourself.
Yeah, and I know the next musicals I want to write, I know I want to be comedies, and so I'm like, cool, I can be funny.
Wow.
Like, that's because like what's written is really heavy, and it needs to be heavy, and it has its funny moments, especially in the first act. Like the bad guy is hilarious, but I shout out to Olivia Nelson for how amazing and funny she is. But it's very much it needs to get real to get across the themes I'm trying to get across, and I'm so excited to do something that's a little lighter.
Yeah, I love in your creativity that you really push in and explore all the sides of yourself, because I think it's easy, especially in the world of music, I think, is getting more genreless now, as people are as focused on making complete works, but you're making complete works in lots of places, and I think that's just so great. And
I'm trying, and it's definitely influenced the quarter-life crisis, because I'm 25 now, which is not that old, but at the same time, like, I have done what I've done, and like a lot of my peers who are like 19, 20, 21 have done a lot more.
I think in this business you have to put your blinders on a little bit, because if you get too focused on what everyone else is doing, it's their journey. Yeah. It's really hard to not be in comparison mode.
Yeah, but at the same time, I also look at, like, I've been writing musicals, I've been doing Mnerva, I've been playing drums for other people. Like, that's 3 careers in itself that I've been doing concurrently. So like, it's going to take a lot more time to, like, get those up there. And
things take time.
Yeah, and I really envy those people who have like one dream and that's it.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's amazing. I respect the shit out of that. But I'm really glad that I'm doing what I'm doing, because it's really fulfilling. Even though I haven't gotten the monetary or the success or the popularity yet, it's still really
You're building
rewarding.
Something that has real foundation, though.
Yeah. And I know that when
you may not be going for the, quick viral songs, but, hopefully the growth and the foundation you're building is more than that.
Yeah, I think my manager puts it best. Like, you don't have anything yet to bring people in, but you have everything in motion to keep people.
You know, I feel like I'm in the same place.
Yeah, like I had a friend, I was over at her house yesterday and I played one of her songs and she was like, oh, I have to leave the room, I can't hear myself. And I'm like, I love my music.
Yes.
It's everything I want to hear.
Yeah, that's why we make it.
Yeah, and I think that, like, I really, especially this next record, like, Talk Too Much, like, I loved, but I didn't believe in. Like, I knew, like, okay, this thing has a ceiling, and it's going to hit that ceiling pretty fast. Because this is a niche, experimental rock rap record. And I love it. This is so cool. But, like, with Invincible, I think there's a lot more reach on this record, because it's got the rap rock, it's got the pop punk, it's got just the stadium rock. And then the next record I'm writing after this, it's like, damn, cool, this is, like, an electronic pop punk record. And, like, God, that's cool. And I'm like, I want all these projects to, like, yeah, you can see the through line of, like, where this is the same guy, but I want it to be, like, everything feels distinct.
Yeah.
And I never want to write the same record twice. And I'm curious to see, like, I have a lot of fans that got on the Mnerva train back when I was still a hip-hop artist, and are now going through me not rapping at all and being a rock artist. I know a lot of them have fallen off because they haven't, that isn't them. But I'm getting so many more people on the train now with the new stuff, and I'm like, cool, I think that these ones are going to stay the course.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about that, because I'm a rocker at heart. I always have been. I was just scared that rock was dead for years, and scared of writing melodies, so I wrote raps instead. And overcoming that fear has been the best thing I could do as a creative.
Yeah, love that. Well, I know color has been like a thing for you. Red was your thing for a while, and now you're in the blue era of blue.
It'll be purple after this, I'm just warning you. I'm totally stealing everything you do. Well, because red plus blue equals purple. It makes sense.
Then we at least have to do a song together.
Yes, exactly. Like, get the purple cult. Yeah, I'll join immediately.
But when you, like, how do you choose the colors for the project? Is it, you know, does music for you have colors? Does it inspire visuals for you? Like, do you hear a song and be like, this is blue? Or is it emotion for you? Like,
it's more emotion for me than like a literal synesthesia thing. Like, for me, with the red and black thing in the opening, like, that was just my personality. Like, just in general, like, all my clothes already were red.
Fiery?
Yeah, fiery and just...
A little angry?
Yeah, like, but like, angsty, not necessarily angry, and really, like, God, I can't find the word for it. It's intense. Yeah, really intense, and that just described me as a person. And dark, that's the word for it. Like, all those songs on Talk Too Much and everything before that had an inherent, like, despair to them, and, like, I feel like red, especially like a deep red, really, like, captures that. And I love American Idiot, I love Blurry Face, like, both of those eras of Green Day and 21 Pilots, red and black were the colors, and that really fit. And so, I mean, I totally took that from both of those influences, just for myself as my own personality. I also look really good in red, I can't lie. That was partially why. It very much is my color. But then when I was going into Invincible, like, Sorry, Forget About Me could have been red. Like, it really could have been. But I was like, I want to do something to really mark the change in this sound, because I'm not this experimental hip-hop artist anymore. I'm really, like, this is my transition into being the rock artist I always should have been. And I wanted to just have a really clear mark of that. And so going to the blue, like, especially with, like, the album cover for Sorry, with me in the blue silhouette, was really, it felt like, okay, cool, this is a new era officially. And I went with blue because it was like, it's a dark blue, it's not a neon blue. This is not a happy blue. This band has been through something, but there's hope on the other side. That's what blue kind of represents to me. And I love the album cover that you'll all see eventually when the record comes out. It's been done for a while. It's like me holding like a blue heart with like phoenix wings on. And it comes from the title track, Invincible. The chorus is, there's a fire in my soul, nothing's gonna put it out, I'm invincible now. And I really love that idea of like, what's hotter than red? Blue flame. And so, like, I am so set on this path and this journey of where I'm at now with this sound.
Blue is a very calm color. It almost feels like a strong calm, like an awakening, but that's really rooted in, you know, truth and core for you.
Yeah, like, notice, like, I'm literally wearing like a blue flame shirt right now, and that's really been as I'm wearing blue flame shoes. That's really been the brand, is like, okay, cool, like, what is a fire that's not going to go out? You know what I mean? And like, I feel like that's like how much I believe in this next record and this sound, and that might sound like bullshit, but like, legitimately, that's really...
That's the energy you're giving it.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. And it's like, if this project doesn't work, I really don't know what I'm going to do next. And I want to approach it with that type of vigor of, wow, like, I have to give this everything I have, because I'm an independent artist, circling it all back around. If I don't do it, nobody else is.
Yeah, and you gotta have that proof of concept going to continue to do the next and the next and the next.
Like, I gotta believe in myself if I'm gonna get other people to believe in me.
My dad always, before any meeting or anything that I ever did, he would always text me and say, believe in yourself and others will too.
Yeah, I love that.
And if I meant to ever get a tattoo, it probably will be that.
Yeah.
But I definitely believe in that. The moments where I've, and it can be hard, because this business definitely gives you hits constantly, and you take a lot of punches on the daily, and it's hard to sometimes muster up that belief, I think.
Yeah.
But it's something we have to do, and there's a great quote. I want to say it's Roosevelt. It's from this great book by Brene Brown that I first saw it, but it talks about basically like you have to be in the ring and in the arena, to even It's like if you're face down in the arena. I'm gonna look this up, and I'm gonna actually paste it here on the screen in between us. This is the quote. But it's something like, if you're face down in the ring, at least you're in the arena. And you have to kind of like put yourself there every day, knowing like you could be knocked down and it could suck, but like that just at least means that you tried and you're there, rather than being a bystander and watching. That's where life happens.
Will Smith has a quote that I also absolutely love. I was saying this before the Oscar slap, but it's this quote about don't wake up every day and try to build a wall. Wake up every day and take a brick and lay that brick down as perfectly and as well as you can, and really focus on it. And then do that every day. Before you know it, you're gonna have a wall.
I like that.
And like
I have to really focus on things like that every day, because I'm the person that thinks 5 steps ahead, and step 1 and 2 is really hard for me. I can't really figure out what it is. I can't really visualize it. But if I make my list of my top 10 priorities, and if I just start working to cross those things off, the bricks start happening, and I'm not in freeze fight mode.
Yeah. Well, it's so easy to get overwhelmed because there's always more stuff to do.
Especially as an indie artist, there's if you really are tackling all the categories you need to be, like, it's insane.
Yeah, like I'm probably not going to post a TikTok today. I have to play a show right now after this.
I posted one in weeks.
Yeah, and I'm like, yikes, man, that's 2 days in a row for me. I'm like, ew, the algorithm is not going to like me. Yeah. But like that's okay, because today I dyed my hair.
You dyed your hair.
And
interview and you played a gig.
Yeah, doing that and playing a gig.
That's a successful day.
I had a co-write before this.
Should be enough.
Like,
you had a great day.
Yeah, I was like, today is busy, and every day for the next 2 weeks is gonna be like that.
And reminding yourself that like I had a good day, like screw that thing that's basically gonna tell me I didn't do enough today.
Yeah.
I did enough, and that is enough.
Exactly. And I think that's the hardest part as an artist or just a human, just reminding yourself that you're enough, because we get so stuck in shame spirals. And I know for me, like that, anytime I'm about to play a show or go into a stressful situation, I just kind of sit down and be like, all right, Matthew, you're enough. And what's going to be is going to be, and you're going to make it happen. But no matter how it happens, you are enough. And if someone else doesn't like you, that doesn't mean you're not enough. Your worth is based on you.
It's very important.
And if you don't think you're enough, you're never going to be. So don't do that.
Yeah, I think that's a struggle for everyone. If it's not a struggle for you, I think you're a liar.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
It's constant work in it, and I don't think it ever goes away. Like obviously there'll be periods of times where it's better than others, but I think it's constant work. I think to keep yourself in that place.
And it needs to be, because I mean we have our entire childhood and adolescence of lessons that we learn. Some are good, some are really bad. And being an adult is about taking responsibility for your shit. It's not about getting a full-time job, paying taxes, doing, having kids, getting married. It's not about that. It's just about taking care of you
Yeah.
and making sure that, like, you know, you are in control of your life.
And having joy in your life. I think not enough people focus on that. I think having joy in your life and being responsible for yourself and your emotions and continuing to get to know yourself, because you're always changing. And I think when people stop kind of meeting themselves and, you know, every day being like, you know, what's there now, like, or having like something really hard happen, which we all do, and then being like, oh, that happened to me, but never sitting with it and learning from it and taking lessons from it and using it to grow, and just being like, oh, that thing happened to me, instead of, you know, how can I take this thing and use it to catapult me into the next phase of me. Like, I think that journey of self-discovery, whether you're 25 or 45 or 75, is so cool.
Yeah. And I think, like, if you really do your music career right, or just your career as a creative, like, it may not necessarily be as an artist, but you can create for your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I really love, like, how artists like Elton John, for example, continue to be relevant. Like, I mean, my God, he wrote The Lion King.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, and now the way he's mentoring younger artists, it's so cool to me how, like, damn, he may not be writing top 10 hits anymore, but he's still using his creativity every day to, like, make something happen.
That's just living as a creative. I mean, we're all creative beings, whether we choose to live that way or not.
Yeah.
You know, anyone can find it, whether you think you're creative or you think you're terrible at creativity.
Yeah.
It's like our natural state of being is creativity and play. So I think, someone like him, he's a perfect example of someone who's never lost that, like, creative spark.
Yeah.
I hope to be mentoring people and at that place when I'm in my 70s.
Well, I know for me, like, I'm so about mentoring younger generations when it comes to just anything. Like, I remember when I was a senior in high school, I had, like, this freshman, we had, like, a senior freshman mentor program, and this kid was my pride and joy. He actually just graduated college, and it was my buddy Josh, who the song's about. It's his younger brother, actually. And I love this child. Like, legitimately, he's, like, trying to, like, come down to Nashville sometime to see the show, and I'm like, that would make me so happy.
Aww.
He's, like, about to be, like, a computer programmer, like, he already got a job right out of college, is paying, like, making way more money than me, and I'm just like, he's crazy. I'm so proud of him. But I know for me, like, no one gave me that tutelage. I had to learn and do everything myself. So I love giving back, being like, I want to be everything for you that I didn't get.
It's really nice to be able to take all that work, all that hardship, and all that stuff, and to be able to use that to be a light to maybe help somebody else, you know, not have to go through that stuff, or to, like, you know, at least have the tools to be able to maybe walk through it easier than you did. Yeah. I think that's a really cool thing.
Because at the end of the day, it's not like a competition. It's all about, like, you know, I want all my friends and family to succeed. I'm like, if you put in the work and you are a good person, I mean, like, I look at someone like Jake Wesley Rogers, for example. I'm like, he's the nicest man of all time. Like, I mean, anytime I see him to this day, he's like a superstar now. He'll still be like, oh, Matt, so good to see you. I'm like, I'm a nobody. And, like, I met you at a lunch table in college, like, you know, 7 years ago, and you still know who I am. Like, you're such a good person and a good guy. And, like, I only wish success for people like that, and because they deserve it. And they put in the work, and they really do what they need to do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Like, I cannot wait till both me and you are like, remember when we were doing interviews in your basement? Good times.
We'll do another one when we're at that point. We'll do another one right here.
So, can we, like, cut back to our first one?
Yes.
When I just dyed my hair blue?
What color will you be on then? You'll be on pink.
I'd do that in a heartbeat.
Or yellow.
That'd be so fun.
Maybe yellow.
You know, I'm actually thinking orange at some point. I can't lie.
Orange.
I accidentally did that when I bleached my hair, and I was like, this actually kind of looks good. I can't lie.
Let's see. What have I not asked you today? Oh, so you really have one of your brand pillars as being a proud geek. It says it on your Instagram. What do you geek out over?
Oh, God. Well, you were asking earlier, do I listen to music? What I do instead is I watch a lot of anime, and the big reason for that is I can break down story structure, like, as a playwright and all that other stuff, but, like, the way Japanese media, like, the values they have and the themes they have and their culture, Eastern and Western society, are so different. And so I can't predict where those stories are going a lot of the time, so I can just enjoy it. And I don't know how animation works.
That's really cool.
So I can just enjoy it. I'm not looking at like acting choices.
Mm-hmm.
I can look at voice acting choices, but I don't voice act. And so that is truly something I can just enjoy. Yeah, I do that. Comic books are huge for me. I just had the realization recently that they're just soap operas for boys. And they can be for any gender, obviously, but they tend to be at like male audiences. And that's what they are. They're these convoluted plot lines that have been going on for 50 years.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, that's so cool.
I just, I've never really been into comic books, but I just watched all the Marvel movies in the universe order with the shows and everything.
Oh.
Like, we did them all.
How was it?
Oh my god, like...
So good.
So, like, in the past, I had watched, like, you know, a superhero movie here and there, but I didn't have, like, how the worlds are all together and, like, how this one references this one and, like, the nerdiness of it. I didn't have that until now, and now I'm, like, such a Marvel geek.
Yep.
And Stan Lee has definitely been added to my Dead or Alive dinner party of dreams. Oh my god, just brilliant writing. And we just watched all the X-Men as well, because they're about to bring the X-Men into the Marvel-verse. And I'm just like,
Disney has all the Infinity Stones.
Yes, I am so nerding about this. I actually gave an interview the other day. I was being interviewed, I can't remember what they asked me. It was the only interview I have ever answered kind of stoned. And my answer to, I think it was like if I could have a mythical item, what would it be? And mine was the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yes. All that power though? Oh, you're brave. Brave
like,
woman.
I want that. I want Thanos' gauntlet.
So I gotta say, as a Marvel fan, before the MCU, this has been fascinating watching it become like mainstream. And I'm not gatekeeping at all. I'm so happy about it. I'm like, oh my god, you guys finally get it.
I'm sure I'm like the assholes that just watch movies and don't read the books. Like, and I'm like, the books are so much better. Like, maybe, I don't know.
Honestly, the movies are just as good, if not better.
You know, I feel like the multiverse movies, though, I don't really care for them as much as the others, because I don't feel like you can get to that complex of I honestly think Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is not a Marvel-verse movie, it's an A24 movie, I think they did the multiverse better than anyone has. But
that movie's a masterpiece.
Yes, it is. The Marvel multiverse movies, I feel like those should have been shows. Like, I felt like they did the Loki show really nice. Like, because it had hours to develop the story. But I feel like the movies, it's like they're cramming too much into 2 hours, and it's like, I don't know. I feel like it falls short. It's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, and that's definitely... I never expected them to go the multiverse direction with the MCU, and it's really interesting because, like, that's how the comics work. Like, they have all these stories with different continuities that sometimes come together, sometimes don't, and it's so that the writers, over the course of these, like, 70 years that Marvel's been around, can write whatever story they want. And it gives them, the freedom to do it. And so... the fact that we're getting that in the movies, I'm like, that is big brain stuff that the normal consumer, I never thought would appreciate. And it's been so interesting seeing...
I like the concept of it. I just think the execution, like, it needs to be slower.
Yeah.
It's just, like, I don't know, did you see the Doctor Strange?
Yeah, honestly, I loved it. I was so good
I loved it too, but I didn't care about the female lead.
Yeah.
I didn't care about her. There's no character development. Like, there was no emotional connection I had to her. I didn't care what happened to her.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing, like, I feel like you're sacrificing elements of the movie by trying to make it so. But Doctor Strange, I freaking love him.
Yeah.
I loved the movie. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't care if they make a movie about that girl. Like, I could never see her again and be happy.
Yeah. No, I very much feel that. I know for me with the... with how complicated it's gotten. I mean, there's definitely required reading now for any of this, and I know...
yes, we nerd out afterwards.
But it's so cool. Well, especially, I fell really into the YouTube rabbit hole of, like, comics explained and, like, you know, like, the origins of things.
Derek does that and sends me the ones that he's like, look at this, look at this, look at this.
I love him so.
Yeah, so
I miss you, Derek.
Marvel tangent, but I've been really into it lately.
Yes. But other things I nerd out about would be, I mean, those are, like, the two big ones for sure, but, like... Oh, God, I don't know what else I really nerd out about. I mean, there's... I can music nerd all day. Like, I'm really good with, like, music history. Like, I love seeing, like, how did that band member change a group? Like, I I had a Red Hot Chili Peppers phase again, like a while back, and like seeing how John Frusciante coming in and out of that band has affected how successful they are throughout their entire career has been fascinating.
Yeah.
Or like just musical progression in genres. Like I think the way that like being a Linkin Park fan, I'm such a big nu metal guy. I mean, listen to my music; it makes sense. But I love like watching the evolution from Korn and Deftones into something like Limp Bizkit that was so critically lauded but so popular, into something like Linkin Park that was both critically praised and appreciated by the public, and seeing how all those elements came together and then eventually became uncool. Like, you know, and now is having a resurgence, or the way pop punk has been coming in and coming out. I think that it's so interesting because you have the exact same names behind every movement. Like, you know, not every movement has the same people, but I mean, like, each movement, like Chino Moreno, the singer of Deftones, is a part of that entire story. Like, you know, from like Deftones to Limp Bizkit to Stain to Linkin Park to like all those people in that era of music. And I think that, like, you know, great minds think alike.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So, I can go on, like, a record sales tangents and, like, you know, like, when songs came out. I mean, oh, God, I used to piss on my ex so much.
You nerd out on that.
Oh, we have. Oh, we very much have.
I can add to that.
Yeah, no, the first time we got coffee, we very much did. It was a lot of fun.
I'm not surprised.
Well, especially because he's, like, older than me, too, and a lot of my, like, musical appreciation is, like, from his era. And so I'm like, oh, dude, when this happened in, like, 1999, he's like, you know about that? I'm like, bro, you wouldn't know about that. I was 3, but I love it.
That's awesome. Alrighty, I'm gonna close this with my last question that I ask all my guests. If I were to give you a box of everything you have ever lost, what would you look for first?
Everything I've ever lost.
It can be tangible or intangible. I love the smattering of answers I get to this question.
Oh my, that's a great question. For everything I have ever lost. This is a really stupid answer.
It's fine. My first answer to the question was stupid too.
Alright, cool. There was a video game when I was like in 4th grade. I was even younger than that. I was even younger than that. My mom had me on like educational video games, like when I was like really young, and because she wouldn't let me have like a game console because, like, you know, video games bad was very much the prevailing attitude at the time. We didn't realize how much art they were, and I remember I just really wanted this like Clue Finders 4th grade game, and she just wouldn't let me get it. And then it like went out of stock, and I never played it. I played every other game in the fucking series except for that one. So I to this day always give her shit about this. And so that wasn't something I lost necessarily, but that was something that like I never got to experience, and like it wouldn't have changed my life. But I just want to have that completionist mindset. You know what I mean?
You should get it now. And do that for your inner child, because clearly there's some unfinished business there.
I guess.
That is what popped in. I love that.
Yeah, no, I'm like, that is such a stupid answer.
No, it's not, and it's been fact. I love asking this question because everyone takes it in such a different way. Like for me, when I first Derek asked me this question, and I thought of this one pair of black shorts that I had in like 5th grade that I don't know what happened to them.
Yeah.
They were my favorite shorts. I wore them all the time. No clue where they are. And that is what came to mind.
Interesting.
And then I'll ask some people and they'll be like, oh, it's something super prolific or something crazy meaningful or like some intangible, you know, amazingly thought out idea. And I'm just like, black shorts.
Clue Finders 4th grade.
Clue Finders. That's excellent. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for our show this week. And
June 15th
June
at the end,
15th
7 o'clock.
Nashville. Come see us. And can you, I guess, tell everyone where to find you and all your social media and what's coming next for Mnerva?
So, hey guys, what's up? So you can find me on Instagram and TikTok and most of the other socials at Mnerva_official, but there's no I in Mnerva, so it's like MNERVA. And next thing for Mnerva is we got this show. I got my first headlining one at the end on Wednesday, June 15th for all my Nashville friends. We got Dawn opening up the show, then Anastasia at direct support, and then I go on, and we may be doing a lot of songs together. It's going to be great. And my next single, Sorry Forget About Me, drops right as the show ends at 11 o'clock. And yeah, it's really my favorite song I've ever done is Mnerva yet, and I am so excited for everybody to hear it. And after that, get ready for my record that it's the lead single off of, Invincible. Not sure on the release date just yet, but it's done, and I'm going to keep pushing it around. And hopefully something starts happening with it soon.
It will. No doubt.
No doubt. Feeling hella good about it. That's a terrible pun.